All right, what's going on, everyone? We got some serious breaking news going on right here. So Jack Dorsey, this longtime CEO of Twitter, he was one of the founders. He announced that he's stepping down from the company and he's no longer going to be the CEO. He's not going to be running things. He's handing it off to the chief technology officer. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name, honestly. But basically what he said over a tweet is that most founders will choose their ego over their own company, meaning that even if they're not the best CEO to lead the company at that time, they're just going to keep running it because it was their company and they made it. And that's ultimately true, and I really wanted to break down why that's true. So first and foremost, he was he was the founder of the company, like I said, and it took them forever to get Twitter profitable, right? I know that Twitter is like the prime example of a tech startup, and you just gotta hang in there for a long time because they're not making money and they're only surviving on external investment. It took them over 10 years to get Twitter to be profitable. It was a ridiculous amount of time, and Jack Dorsey was one of the people leading the company at the time. So really, he did a garbage job making it actually profitable, even if he was able to garner outside investment. I mean, don't get me wrong, Twitter was a good idea and they executed on it good. But then actually growing it and changing it into to match the modern landscape of our society, they didn't do too hot of a job on that one. The next thing is he uses Twitter all the time to push his own political agenda. You'll see him, deleting stories that are completely true and have no evidence that they were made up anyway, just to basically push his own agenda. It's just their own opinion or the opinion of the people at Twitter. And really why this might be a bad thing is that he was like the prime target for Section 230 reform under the Communications Decency Act. Basically, what that means is if you're a platform like Twitter, you're not allowed to censor people. You're not allowed to hold people, to censor people's opinion, basically, because it's your job to just deliver information, and you get certain protections that come along with that. Like, obviously, if someone's copyright is infringed upon using your platform, they can't go after you. They have to go after the person that's using your platform. And that was basically the idea of it, is that you shouldn't be able to go after the platform because they're just a platform. But Twitter has used those tools to censor people and opinions that they don't like. And Jack Dorsey was really, he's in charge of it, so he's responsible for it at that time. And why that might be a bad thing is because he was the main target, and if he kept doing what he was doing, eventually we would get reform on these platforms, and we would be able to post opinions that we want to post, even if the platform may disagree with it. Obviously, if I'm having a phone call, Verizon can't shut down my phone call because they don't like what I'm talking about in my phone call. And it should be the same way with Twitter, but it wasn't. You saw them posting stories or deleting stories that went against Joe Biden just before the election. It was a pretty blatant political move on their part, and that was Jack Dorsey is just a political operative. At that time, he was operating as one. So you would expect some political reform to come from that, but obviously that takes time. So him stepping down, maybe we'll see a better Twitter. Obviously, they said this new guy has been behind a lot of good changes, and Twitter's been on the decline for quite a few years now. I used to be a very heavy Twitter user from like 2016 to maybe 2000 from 2013 to 2016. I was on Twitter every day for hours a day, always tweeting people about competitive Call of Duty and gaming and that sort of thing. And I don't know what it was. I don't really get why I stopped using it. I just kind of felt disconnected from what I really wanted to get on there for. I used to get on there all the time and communicate and find people to play with, and it was like a better way to discuss things. All that happened on YouTube also. The YouTube comment sections, they still are garbage, but Twitter was slightly better. And you get on to Twitter now, and it kind of seems like you're being fed tweets. Oh, I remember why I stopped using it. They changed up the timeline feed. It used to just be a literal timeline of everyone you followed. When they tweeted, the most recent tweet would be at the top, and you scroll down and you get to tweets further away. Now it's more like Facebook, where they pick tweets that they like and they put them in front of you, even if you're not following people. So I think that's why I really stopped using Twitter, is because that kind of formula doesn't really work for Twitter and tweets. Tweets are supposed to kind of be like an instant thing. They're more of a just a quick snapshot of what's going on, whereas Facebook, Facebook is more of a long-form content. So picking out long-form content that they think you like makes more sense. That's kind of similar to what they do on YouTube, obviously. You have your subscription page, but then on YouTube, they also have a lot of recommendation. And I think that's the main driver that really drove me away from Twitter was they would pick these tweets and you'd be getting tweets from people I don't even know. And the people I wanted to see tweets from, I stopped getting tweets from. And I used to promote my videos big time on Twitter because they would have these pages where you at them and then they just retweet your tweet. And, you put your video in the tweet, they'll retweet it, a bunch of people see your video. But now it's like all those pages, they just basically mark them as spam and no one ever sees it. But, hopefully they'll reverse that. I think if they get back on the whole timeline thing where it's just a literal timeline of all the tweets of all the people you follow, I think I'd get more on board with that. Don't get me wrong, I still get on Twitter from time to time, maybe a couple times a week. And I do look at my timeline, but I never use it. I always have to go to the explore section to really find anything I want to look at. And I would like my timeline to just go back to the way it was, but maybe they got some sort of internal algorithm and they see that maybe I'm an outlier and most people stick around longer when they think they can pick them better tweets to see, but it just didn't work for me. So, that's it. There was huge news. I wanted to comment on this real quick and put it out there in case you guys didn't see, because I was at work and I was completely shocked. I was blindsided by this because like he said, most founders don't do this. And I'll be honest, props to him for giving it up. I'm sure he kind of saw that he was a garbage CEO and had to do something to improve Twitter, and he had the humility to do it. People like Mark Zuckerberg, I think Mark Zuckerberg's a good CEO, but that's just my opinion. There's not a whole lot of like tech social media CEOs to compare him to, so it's kind of hard to compare them when there's only a couple of them. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. It was a huge shocker to me. So if you guys think Twitter is going to be on the up and up now, or if you think it's going to get even worse, just let me know in the comments.
On that computer room. He's fucking behind me somehow. What the fuck? I can't hear shit.
Enemy flag returned.
Someone's behind you.